How do we live forever? Hi, everyone. I'm Thomas, and welcome to my channel. I do mostly educational videos, and today is no exception. We're going to be focusing on the tree of life, as we've been doing the last couple months here. The tree, as you probably know by now, is an ancient diagram that does a lot of different things, but the way I use it as kind of a map of our consciousness. This gives us our different categories or faculties of consciousness. We can start here with 10. These are all spheres. These circles are called spheres, and they're numbered 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There is a thing here called the abyss, and then there's a thing above the tree called the zero. So that's a total of 12 different categories or faculties of consciousness. Starting from really, when you think of it, it's like the creator is here, and the creator creates the universe in this direction, and then this ends up as life starting here, and then life evolves back toward the creator. So really, this is the beginning, but from our perspective, this is the beginning. So we start here at 10. 10 is our wild animal consciousness, like our survival instinct, our fight or flight response, the general health of our body. And pretty much all things of the body, and that also includes emotions. The tree of life originally came from, not originally, but at least it came through ancient Egypt. And in the Egyptian iconography, all of the emotional states are symbolized by animals. So the animals, that's where our emotions are an animal residue. And so the emotions are really located here at the top of the 10th sphere and moving into the bottom of the 9th sphere, depending on whether they are kind of individual emotions or more collective emotions. So the 10th sphere is about survival and a wild animal. The 9th sphere is more like mammalian, but it's really our domestic consciousness. So this is what we're getting the first couple years of our lives, very early in our lives when we're growing up, and our receptivity level is extremely high. We're like sponges. We're just soaking up our environment. We're staring at things, and we're concentrating on things, trying to figure them out. And so we're highly receptive, and we put a lot of our reception or receptiveness onto our caregivers, and watch what they do, and then memorize what they do and imitate what they do. So it's a process of imitation, and then it's a process of transmission from one generation to another, almost genetic. So that is really the domestic consciousness. And then the asphere is similar, but it's out in the real world, so to speak. Instead of in the home, we go out into the real world, and then our so-called caregivers there are like the institutions and the establishment, and they give us all our belief systems, what you're supposed to believe, the consensus worldview, the conventional wisdom, and the paradigms that how things are. And to the extent that we believe in what they say and that we rationalize what they say, then we can make it into the asphere ourselves if we jump through all the hoops that they set up for us. So this is really kind of like a hoop jumping thing. It's a set of beliefs that we learn how to rationalize, to justify through our logical processes, which are very limited because the logical processes contain a lot of fallacies, such as circular reasoning, making assumptions, not having all of the evidence before you start applying reason to it. So the A-sphere is very limited, but if we can kind of learn to put our blindfolds, or see no evil, hear no evil, smell no evil, then we can kind of fit into the A-sphere. But if that doesn't happen and we're disgruntled with the A-sphere, with the beliefs, we don't believe what they're saying, and we don't accept fitting into there, we move over to the 7th sphere. Whereas the A-sphere is about the real world, the 7th sphere is about the imaginary world. So over here, we're thinking we see what the 8th sphere reality is, and we imagine something better. We're like, this doesn't really add up. I could do it better than that. And we come over here and we use the faculties at our disposal here, which are really our ability to combine things, whereas this is really about separating things into categories. This is about putting them together into harmonious organizations. And this is where our creativity process comes in. This is where our intuitive process comes in, and our inspiration, as well as our pleasure principle. So we put all those things together, and we end up coming up with like art products or inventions that attempt to improve upon what's going on in the 8th sphere. And then the 7th sphere also, it's about loving, harmonious relations. And it gives us the inspiration that we need to embark upon a spiritual path. That inspiration is only the 1%, whereas the perspiration is the 99%. So the spiritual path is a very difficult path. As we talked about yesterday, this is uphill. You can see this as a pyramid, and this is the 6th sphere is the apex of the pyramid. So we got to climb to get up here. And the 6th sphere, though, is really where we're normally located. If there's a map of the tree, the map would say you are here, right at the 6th sphere, because that's kind of where we're perceiving things from. And the 6th sphere is our free will faculty. So this is our free will, is our ability to pay attention and to make decisions. Unfortunately, we start here at the 6th sphere, and our attention is directed to the lower parts of the tree, toward 8 and 9 especially, and 10, and even 7, that are comfortable, that we grew up with these things, are the belief systems that we're comfortable with, the habits that we're comfortable with, the conditionings that we're comfortable with, the things that we like and that we dislike. We pay attention down toward the bottom of the tree as it is very comfortable. But with the formation of the spiritual path, we have the decision that we make as part of our free will is to turn around our attention to face it toward the higher aspects of the tree. So that is scary, because the upper parts of the tree are not so well defined for us. In some cases, not well defined at all. And so we have to kind of teach ourselves on the fly. And so we end up kind of looking, feeling very, exposed and vulnerable, and kind of staring out into the void, because we are, our whole life becomes is really in real time now. There's no rehearsals. These areas down here are all kind of a rehearsed life. Even though every moment is different and new, we kind of know what the parameters are. But when we turn ourselves around here at 6, we stare into a totally field of the unknown. and that can be very scary. But we do have guidance, and we get the first bit of guidance here at the fifth sphere, which is our sense of justice. And our sense of justice is also known as karma, which is, you know, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. As you sow, so shall you reap. You can think of a mirror, there being a mirror right here, and you act and you get immediate feedback on your act. You know, and karma is basically calibrated based on violence and waste and violation. And so you can tell from the feedback that you get if you're creating karma. If you are creating violence and waste in the world, it will come back to you. And so you can gradually like clean up your behavior by paying attention to your karma. Now, the karma, the enforcement of the law, is the enforcement of the law, the natural law over here. This is our universal, the fourth sphere is like our universal faculties, universal law, universal love, and universal language. Universal language is, languages that are innate, that we can all understand, like a smile or telepathy or anything else, body language, anything else that music, that we can hear and comprehend, or at least start to comprehend without having any training in it. And then the universal love is giving, seeking nothing in return, and the ability to love your enemies. And then the universal law is, a cosmology, a holy book, or a theory of everything that purports to describe everything in the universe, how it all fits together, what its meaning is, and where it comes from. And, it takes generations and generations to compile such things. And, they stand the test of time according to how accurate they are. Eventually the law itself is permanent, but our estimation of the law is not permanent because it has flaws. And so eventually flaws, the truth, comes to the surface, and the flaws are exposed. And then you have to get a new cosmology. I think we're kind of in the process of a lot of that right now, with this great awakening that's happening in this world. But the cosmology still is formed based on observation and experimentation, experience, investigation, and as opposed to the law, so-called, that is articulated here, which is basically, we just tell you, we tell you what the law is and you follow it. It's by decree. This is based on observation and other scientific inquiries. So this is what stands the test of time. This is just a paper tiger, or really like a house of cards. And so these work together, 4 and 5 work together to articulate the law and then enforce the law. And they work for us here at the sixth sphere to be feedback and a source of a cosmology. Okay, then the abyss here is our psychic powers. In particular, in the tree, this is our ability to recognize omens and to act upon omens. So the omens or synchronicities or chance, very coincidental chance processes, those are a message for us from the universe that this is something important to pay attention to, that it has, I won't say gravity, but it has some type of magnetic attraction, and that we need to summon the courage to act upon the omen. Sometimes we can recognize the omen, but we don't act upon it because doing so would put us out there. We might have to embarrass ourselves in front of a crowd, or we might have to embarrass ourselves just in front of one person to act upon the omen. And so we, just as we are here, we're reticent to make that act because we're scared. So you have to use a lot of courage here with the second part, the psychic heat. The first part is the psychic receptivity, which really corresponds to like a night sphere thing. And then the second part is the psychic heat, which corresponds to a sixth sphere thing. In the Egyptian, these are thought of as eclipses. So the psychic heat, the psychic receptivity comes as a solar eclipse, because the sixth sphere corresponds with the sun. And so the heat of the sun is blocked off. And so then you can tune into your psychic receptivity because it's cooler. And then conversely, the psychic heat corresponds to a lunar eclipse, because the night sphere, which symbolizes the moon, is blocked off, and therefore you have enough, and the cooling influence of the moon is blocked off, and then so you have enough heat or courage to be able to act upon the omen. So they work kind of backwards as eclipses when you evaluate it from the abyss. Okay, then 3, 2, and 1 are our divine faculties within. We have here omnipotence, all powerful, omniscience, all knowing, and omnipresence, all present all the time. And this we tap into through a mantra. We'll be talking about that a little bit today. And then and other sound synchronization processes. And this omnipotence is our ability to do anything. But it's limited in that we really only can do anything that's actually humanly possible. We can't, grow fur and, grow a tail, or we can't grow fins. We only can do things that are actually humanly possible, and really only the things that we can conceive of in our imagination. And then the second sphere, omniscience, all-knowing, is the same. It's not that we know everything. We don't know how many hairs we have on our head. We don't know how many stars are in the sky. But the omnipotent, or the omniscience, is our wisdom, is the ability to solve all our problems. So, these are somewhat misnomers. They say omnipotence, all powerful, but the power is just everything that is humanly possible. And omniscience, all knowing, is not knowing everything. It's knowing really everything you need to know, how to solve all your problems. And we tap into this through basically silence in the mind, to be able to, be what they call a disinterested spectator to the parade of thoughts. So all the thoughts that enter our mind, we can stay off them. We cannot be drawn into them and not give them our attention, but keep our attention on the meditative aspect of what we're doing when we're meditating. And that's how we tap into the wisdom, because the wisdom, the ability to solve problems, is usually our ability to think outside the box. And our logical faculty, our thinking, is always giving us stuff that's in the box. And we need to shut that off enough to be able to get outside the box. Okay, then the first sphere is our unifying sphere, omnipresence, all present, all at once, eternally. So this is the aspect that we have within us and within everybody else. At our deepest center, if you are able to quiet yourself down enough, you can go deeper and deeper and deeper and get to your center. And that is what's called the self, with a capital S. And but that self is the same. as the self of everything else. That's what unifies us. We all have the same thing kind of ticking at our deepest center. And then the zero sphere above the tree is really corresponding to nothingness, the mystery, and it corresponds to the rules of the game, how everything was put together before all this started. And you can think of it kind of in terms of if the divine aspects are the body of God, then the zero sphere is, the mind of God, then this is the body of God. This is something that we don't have direct access to. If the whole universe is the mind of God, and the body of God, or God's private life, is really where the zero sphere is pointing us. Okay, that was a little bit longer explanation. Also, in my model, I take it down to another level of abstraction, and so I superimpose the whole tree on each one of the spheres, and that breaks it down from 12 faculties of consciousness all the way to 144 mini faculties of consciousness, or fractal faculties of consciousness, that I call the stages of life. And those stages are not chronological, but they are dramatic stages. So 144 different dramas that we go through in life. And I've compiled that list. And if you'd like to see it, all you have to do is click the link in the description, and I'll send you a free copy. Okay, now today we're going to be, out of those 144 fractal faculties, we're going to be looking at number 108. And so number 108 is located here in the third sphere, and it is the zero fractal of the third sphere. So remember, the third sphere is about omnipotence, all-powerful, and tapped into through mantra. And then the zero sphere is the mystery, and this is, the thing that we don't have direct access to. And it has to do with inner peace. It has to do with nothingness. And so we're trying to imagine kind of that aspect within the third sphere, the omnipotence that we tap into through mantra, which is, our ability to do anything that we can really conceive of, anything that's humanly possible. So the question is, how do we live forever? And number 108, it's called immortality. The third sphere is in charge of the life force, omnipotence. Omnipotence includes immortality through mantra. The male side of the third sphere also rules over the death process. Death isn't just the absence of life. Death, like life, is a process by which life units are converted back to inanimate status. By tuning into the divine plan, we can trade in mortal life for immortality. We are all immortal, but we just don't know it yet. Beyond one life, from one cell to multiple cells, we access an infinitude of experiences through an infinite chain of finite existences. Share in infinity through a series or cycle of births. Immortality begins with fifth density, achieved by burning off the realms of the material and cosmic values, those of self-centeredness, excess charity, meaning service to self and service to others. Like it or not, we are all immortal, but we tend to forget it. that which causes all our previous lifetimes to blur together. To start immortality is not a fountain of youth, anti-aging thing. It is a memory thing. Immortality as lucid living. We remember our death states. Immortality comes in stages. Once we can remember a continuity of lives, then we can get off the wheel of reincarnation entirely. Then we can even regenerate ourselves and never die at all. We have to be able to eliminate waste through living water, the fountain of youth, which is fruit. Immortality is ours once we have accessed the 3 dimensions of time. One is memory, one is getting off the wheel, and one is the regeneration of cells. Survival after death is determined by what we are, not what we have done. But what we are is predicated upon what we have done. We must go through life spending enough time on ethical activities to be able to construct a definite ethical personality. If that ethical complex exists, then we can survive. Okay, that is number 108, immortality. And unfortunately, I did forget to kind of dig in here and give the summary for this immortality. Let me just do that right here. Maybe that will just provide an editorial here. Stage number 108 is having control over the times of life and death and keeping our memory intact across boundaries between them. We are already immortal. We become fully aware of it at this stage. Okay, so that is number 108. If you got anything out of this video, please click the like button. And you can also subscribe to the channel and share the video with others. And if you want me to keep cranking out more videos, you can also donate to me via Cash App and Venmo, and those are in the description as well. And in the meanwhile, have a beautiful day, and I guess the weekend's coming up. So stay tuned for another video coming up tomorrow. Thanks.